Hey folks, we're back and it's now time for Ask the Doc with Dr. William Whaley and Dr. Raymond Tidman. We always want to open up with thanking North Georgia Cancer Research affiliated with Northside Hospital. And Dr. Whaley, good morning. We're in Blue Ridge, Georgia, Circuit World. We do have so much going on, but we have some cancer-related questions that came in this week that you want to address right in the beginning.
It's all tied up together.
It is.
First of all, I think that there's been so much tremendous publicity about the vaccine we've talked about week after week after week, and about the who gets it first and so forth, that it generated these questions. And I would say the day before yesterday, within 4 hours, I had 3 different first county, and it was this county, large employer, and then industry group for hospice and home care come to me and ask my advice about how do we handle this business, about do we take the vaccine, who gets priority for the vaccine. So the 2 questions that I got the most, and this one here is kind of easy, and it takes us back to somebody. It says, my father is taking. Do you watch TV?
Yes.
If you watch TV, you've seen this advertisement for Nevo Ipi. And it's got that's an immunotherapy. It's about $25,000 a month, that therapy, but they don't tell you what it's for. But it's a great ad, and not only that, it's not a 30-second ad; it's a 1-minute ad. So if you get stuck, anyway. So my father is taking the Nevo Ipi immunotherapy that you discussed in January. Well, that was just before the virus, and now he is getting tested for COVID. Is there a concern? All right, the second question comes right on its heels, and it's got to do with prioritizing of who's going to get the virus and who's going to get the vaccine. I have a cancer diagnosis. How many people is this? Thousands of them. I have completed chemo and radiation for breast cancer. What do you recommend about taking the COVID vaccine? No, should I take it or should I not take it? Now, you and your all-star panel have had anti-vacciners on your panel.
I like my anti-vacciner. Don't you talk about my anti-vacciner?
Well, I don't understand, but you got big. I'm not trying to say there's any anti-vacciners that's sitting at this table, but anyhow. So,
all right.
First of all, we're not going to go into numbers at the moment, but at this exact moment, if you've been paying any attention, Georgia, which was way up here at the top in terms of its incidence, it was like the 8th ranked state for a couple months ago. It's 8 from the bottom now. So even though we have a lot of stuff going on in Georgia, we're a lot better off than a lot of the rest of them. And my wife keeps asking me about the death rate. Okay, in Georgia, both the hospitalization rate and the case rate are up about 25% in the last week compared to the 3 and 4 weeks prior, and deaths are up 35%. So, don't tell me that people ain't dying right and left. More people died in the state Wednesday than have died at the peak of the thing. Okay, so let's put that first thing up there. All right. So, a panel met. CDC panel met day before yesterday, and there's an article in today's newspaper about prioritizing who is going to get the vaccine. So what does that say?
Should cancer survivors be prioritized for COVID vaccine?
Ray? Now, if you just had a limited number of doses of the vaccine in this community, where would it go first?
It would go to mine China, and then the healthcare workers. Okay,
well, so what he says there is a little inverted in the way the thing came out. It would be the hospital healthcare workers and the fine China sort of at the same level, okay?
Right. But what you're saying is what I have read as far as when we say prioritizing the virus is what you said. I mean, you
Yeah, correct.
Right,
All right.
inverted it, but
Now, I gave Ray right there. He didn't have to hold it up. I gave Ray this week's edition, this month's edition of the Atlanta Medicine. It's got 7 articles in there about disparate medical care, indicating that there's white privilege, or there's economic privilege, or there's geographical privilege. We would be considered geographical privilege in the mountains. And that there are pockets of people living close together who have a higher incidence of the virus, and they tend to be minorities of skin color or economic minorities in this disparate medical care. And the New York Times is saying that we need to prioritize, after this first tier of healthcare workers and the old, that as you then begin to decide whether you're going to send it to Fannin County or Randolph County, you want to send more of it to Randolph County because they've got more people in these various high risk groups. Okay, you got that all in your head there?
yes, I'm listening.
All right. So now we're going to talk about the part about the IPI and the NEVO, and I'm going to hit. Put up that next chart there. This is from the second Friday in January, and we were talking about liver cancer. You remember that?
Yes.
All right. So Ray, I always have these big old things. So you start over here where some poor guy's got cancer, and you go all the way through here to the bottom. But when you get into here where you've got advanced cancer and all of your surgeries and everything doesn't work, and it starts saying systemic therapy and then immunotherapy, this business about the NEVO and IPI was brand new in January. We didn't have a daggum thing we could do for liver cancer, and now we do, and it's getting pretty good. All right, so drop that one and then pick up the next one. This comes from 1 week ago when I was trying. Let's see read what that says.
How cancer immunotherapy immunotherapy
All right, there you go.
is helping speed a COVID-19 vaccine.
What's the date on that?
Immunotherapy.
What's the date?
November 17th, 2020.
Okay, November 17th. That's right. That's 3 weeks ago. Okay, so we had this. We talked about this at that point. Pull that thing down. So, the science of the immune modulation to treat cancer, where it's not chemotherapy, it's not radiation, it takes your immunity, fires up the T cells. Remember, we've been talking about the vaccine being either a T cell or a B cell, the rest of it T cells, then to go in and kill cancer, has made a tremendous advance in the care of cancer. I always keep going back to Jimmy Carter because it's public. Jimmy Carter had melanoma in his liver, lung, and brain, and he got the drug Keytruda, and he has been going fine for 4 years on the drug Keytruda. That is the NEVO is a Keytruda type drug. So it has made tremendous strides in the treatment of cancer. Okay, go to this next one.
And Bill, he was a compassionate use, wasn't he? They did it.
Yeah. No, yes, right. He was a compassionate use. Okay, now, if you take the predictors of people that are going to end up in the hospital or end up in the ICU, we've always been talking about comorbidities, and what we used obesity, we've used chronic lung disease, we've used chronic kidney disease. If you stop and look at them, to get in the hospital, the very first one, the highest risk is the immunotherapy. In other words, the NEVO, that stuff, if you've had that or getting it or have had it, then that's the highest risk you have if you get the COVID virus to end up in the hospital. The second is hematologic malignancies. That's the lymphomas and leukemias, which lower your immunity. And then you've got heart disease. After heart disease, you throw in a couple more sort of low lymphocyte count and people getting corticosteroids, and then you get into the high blood pressure, chronic kidney disease, and obesity. Okay? Now, if you get into just the respiratory illness portion that isn't going to get in the hospital, after the immunotherapy, there's fine china, greater than 65 years, there's heart disease, and then there's people that have smoked or have formerly smoked. So, okay, you can pull that one off.
On that graphic, are those patients that are in the immunotherapy group, are they immune compromised such that the vaccine might not work on them?
That's a great question. It's undergoing clinical trials at the moment, and the answer is it seems to work, but not as good as it's going to work for everybody else. So, how I want to answer this question is, first of all, we're going to come back for a minute to want to raise big issues, and that's lost medical care. I think that, and that thing I gave Ray also emphasizes this. Once this vaccine, this virus got into about March, and people began to get into the hospital and come out of their primary care doctor's office and come out of getting their blood pressure checked and their blood sugar checked and everything else, we went into a disaster point. One, where people couldn't get medical care because they weren't going to go to the doctor's office, and this whole telemedicine, telehealth thing hadn't gotten organized to the point where it worked very well. And then the primary care doctors have always been bastions of individuality, and to work on some sort of a national and at least statewide, and let's pick metropolitan Atlanta. You got 9 different hospital systems and bunches of different primary care docs, where patients end up in a hospital system. The primary care doc that takes care of them is not part of that hospital system. How do you smooth their going home and they're getting picked up by somebody? It's just really complicated. I learned a lot. I learned a lot in there. But to the point of who are you going to prioritize? It's so complicated that the answer I don't have, but I would say yes, the cancer survivor that has had immunotherapy goes in there with the high-risk China. It looks like when you take it that way that the overweight and the high blood pressure, there's a group of diabetic support group that wants them to be right behind the high-risk China. So everybody's got their own sort of advocacy group. But anyhow, to answer the question, one, when these people say, should we take the vaccine? And that's what I got from the counties and the employers. One of the employers want to know, can we require our employees to have the vaccine to return to work? Question's hard to answer, isn't it? The one from the county was, should our first responders, our firefighters and the rest of that stuff, be required to take the vaccine? Remember, we say healthcare workers are going to get it, but can we require them to take the vaccine? I think that's a legal question I haven't got the answer to.
But I think it's a good question, and they're going together because the big word in this is require, and that's been a discussion for a long time. Is where are we going to be as far as requiring?
Well, that's every year it happens. I mean, in our local hospital, they require you to get a flu shot. They can't hold you down and put the needle in you. If you choose not to get the flu shot, then you've got to mask up and do all these other protections in lieu of the vaccine. So they kind of make it hard on your life if you don't get the flu shot. But they can't hold you down and stick a needle in you.
Right, but they can restrict your privileges.
Right.
And you may not be able to operate.
Yeah, but this is a hospital, and I understand this because you're directly dealing with people with health issues, right, immunity. But I'm talking the private sector.
Okay, let's go private sector.
Or even the county, the government.
All right, you know that
it's not a hospital.
We're big-time international travelers.
Yes.
Delta's going to start serving Rome, Italy over the Christmas holiday. To get on that flight, you have to have a certificate of a PCR test done within the 3 days prior to getting on. Just like if you went in to get a colonoscopy or surgical procedure.
Right.
You will be tested with the rapid test at the boarding of the aircraft. You will be tested with the rapid test when you get to Italy and you get off the plane only 9 or 10 hours later.
By the Italians.
By the Italians. And rather than just saying, I'm going to be staying at the such and such hotel, you got to give them a very tight place of where you're going to be and access to your cell phone that they could ping and find where you actually went. Now,
can I say something there?
Yeah.
But everything you just said is a choice you're making
to participate in the private world.
If you choose to do that.
That's right.
But if you are already Because if you choose to do that, that's the big word, required. You know going in, all this is required. But if you work at Business A, and you've worked at Business A for 10 years, and then Business A sends out a memo that says the vaccine will be available on X day, and you will have 30 days from that day to continue employment here. That's the required side. Now, hospitals, I understand where you're coming from, but you know what I'm saying? All right, so we don't need to touch that rail, but that's what
we're
I'm
going to
saying.
touch it right now.
Okay, go.
All right, I was the medical director of the largest forced drug screening program in the world. What was it? Department of Transportation for airlines, bus drivers, truck drivers. If you chose to continue to drive a truck, there's a lot of people up here are truck drivers, operate a train, or be a flight attendant, a mechanic, or pilot with an airline, you had to submit to a drug test today, to random drug testing at intervals at not your choice. Well, that everybody says, oh, you can't do that. Well, that's exactly what this is. So if it's determined by, let's say, national health officials and aviation industry and so forth, that to work as a flight attendant, a pilot, or in contact with the public, you have to be immunized against the virus to protect our customers.
All right.
Then they have the right to that.
Right,
just
but
exactly
you used
like
another word.
What?
Determined. If it not just work. If it's determined.
Yeah.
So do you understand what I'm saying? So if it's determined, there's a lot going on out there. Who's going to be the authority that determines these things?
I'll tell you how that works in the FAA.
All right.
Rule
Don't
making.
want to get sidetracked. Used to have a business, 70 employees. We would receive a better insurance rate if we chose to be a company that did drug testing.
Yeah, or had no smokers.
Right. Drug testing. No, and when you came in as an employee, okay, we gave you forms in your packet that you were aware we would do this.
Right.
You signed on. We would get better insurance rates. So are we going to get, is this all going to come through? We're going to get better insurance rates if we require the vaccine, one thing after another, whatever. I don't want to get sidetracked.
But that's not sidetracked. That's right. All right, but let's get back. So we're going to get back to the issue about what this virus is doing to cancer and health. Okay.
Yeah, let's do
This
that.
is Ray Tidman's favorite thing. I put up my little graph right here. The backlog created by suspending screening programs, all kinds of screening programs, starting with the weeks of a lockdown. How many people don't get screened for? And it's every single solid. If you just look at it, it's one of those like that. When you've gotten to the 6th week of a lockdown in this country, you would have something like 8 million people that under normal circumstances in that 4 weeks would have had a mammogram, a PSA, a colonoscopy, or some such thing. 8 million within that 4-week period, maybe even more than that. I don't know. But the point is, it's millions of procedures that are not being done. When you get out to 30 weeks or something, I mean, it's like half the population. You're supposed to get a follow-up colonoscopy 1 year after a polyp or 3 years after a polyp. I had a patient in the office today. I said, did you get that colonoscopy we talked about 6 months ago? Now you're overdue by a year and a half with a pre-malignant polyp that was 2.5 years ago.
Bill, along this same line, I mean, you've got these people running around saying, 1,000 deaths a day. What a terrible, terrible thing. Normal day in America, what are there, 6,000, 7,000 cancer people dying a day?
I don't know, big number.
It's 6 or 7 times more than COVID.
Yeah,
Okay?
all right.
So, here we are, we're delaying health care, we're not doing what we know how to do, that is find and diagnose and treat cancer. And we're focused on this one thing because everybody thinks, I can get in control of this. And when I get in control of this, I'm the big guy. And it's never worked. It has never worked for outsiders or anyone above you to tell you what to do and why you have to do it and when you have to do it. It's constantly piping up. Everywhere around the world, you've always got some hero that wants to tell other people what to do.
It's like me telling my patient need to lose 40 pounds.
Wait a minute. So let me ask you a question, because I'm hearing this on a daily basis, watching media reports. Dark winter. The next 8 weeks, next 2 months, going to be worse than last year when this all started. The fear that we should be living in, and let me wrap this up. And the daily deaths now are exceeding this number, one thing after another. If Joe Biden is the next president of the United States, he said, I would like to have 100 days of everybody in America wearing a mask. All these things are going on. Now, my thought is, well, wait a minute. Last year, not at this time, but last year when everything started, they were yelling, screaming daily on TV. We opened the Javits Center, put 3 people in it. We opened a big center in Houston. We put ships on both ends of the country, never put a person in there. And now it's supposed to be worse. Should there not be a column called COVID-related deaths?
No, there should be, but basically they ought to own their mistakes. All of the planning that was done for COVID assumed a 10-fold worse lethality for this virus. They thought the virus was going to be 10 times worse than it turned out to be. They made all their plannings around that. Once they figured out and found out, well, not that many people are dying. Now people are dying, but not 10-fold what we thought they were. Then they should have backed up and said, well, let's rethink this a little bit.
People are dying.
But go to El Paso right now. El Paso has got people in tents because the hospitals are full. El Paso has got bodies in the refrigerator truck that brings fruit to your market. El Paso is devastated. There are small towns in Idaho and the West that are 100% full. The closest tertiary hospital's 150 miles away, and their ICUs are almost full. Now, Georgia's way down here at the bottom. We're doing. I know we're doing fine. We had more deaths yesterday than we've had ever. But our ICUs have got beds. The fatality rate in the hospital is very low, 3%, 5%. And that's in the hospital. So the fatality rate of the guy who gets the COVID virus positive test is still extremely low. And these chicken little people that are talking about this, there was a big article about it yesterday, and I even heard it on the news about children between the ages of 3 and 14 having this huge immune reaction thing. You're talking less than 25 or 30 cases of that in this entire epidemic.
Yeah. Well, let me say this, because I get this great opportunity, folks. I love this. I'm here, you're out there, and I know you're enjoying it. I get this great opportunity every week to spend with these 2 amazing doctors. My dad, I'm going to go back to that really quick. A couple years ago, and I basically quote, Dad, are you going to go to Florida this year? Yes, I've got to figure out how to get down there. My doctor says, with my health condition, if I get a bad flu or pneumonia, I'm done. I'll never make it through. If I get it, my dad told me this, I'll never make it through. Now, at this time, there's not COVID, or he could have added that to the list, is what I'm saying, okay?
Yeah, right.
But he said, if I get pneumonia in the winter, if I get the flu or pneumonia, I'm done.
So that's why it's better to be in Florida than Pennsylvania, right?
Well, actually,
you're coming to he made his own decision. He asked his doctor, he got informed, and he made his own decision.
But he did die with COVID. That's what I'm saying. He got COVID, but with his health. So I'm not making, I always say I'm not making light, but I get concerned that we shouldn't have a category that says death with COVID
rather than from. Right. Exactly right.
You know, I
Brian,
really
let
get
me-
Well, wait,
concerned
the
with
40% of these deaths are still in nursing homes.
Right.
Exactly.
And a third of those people are on hospice in the nursing homes. Now, you're on hospice, say you're
I
not going to
would
get
say,
treated.
what is the percentage of those deaths at that age group that you could say this year a bad flu, this year the pneumonia, or now COVID, and the odds of this patient making it through?
So I'm
Do you
going
understand what I
to
just
share something with you that,
Okay.
that is at an intellectual level outrageous, but it's happening right now. As you get through a year, you can look back at the mortality rate for all diseases for the year, okay? The question is, when looking back at 2020, are there excess deaths versus 2019?
As of now, they seem to be, yeah.
But are there?
Yeah.
Okay? We don't know yet.
No.
But there was the first article that came out from Johns Hopkins that showed that there are no net excess deaths in certain age groups, the high-risk age groups, from COVID, which meant that COVID is taking out people that are close to death on average anyway. As a society, now that's not an individual thing, but as a society, you got to back up and say, what are we doing here that we are encroaching and getting into all kinds of people's lives when we may not have a pandemic that is taking out 10 times more people than we thought? All right, let me throw another number at you. Everyone talks about schools and what a mess the schools have been. All these children have been deprived of school. We have some areas of the country where essentially children have not been educated for a year. Where do you get that back? We have 500 kids that have died of suicide in that 1 to 12th grade so far this year. 500. Do you know how many children have died of COVID? Now we're talking about 60 million children with an M. 60 million children. 4 children have died of COVID. And we have shut schools down. We've run around and said, oh, we got to shut all these children down, stop their sports, not let them advance, let them be dumb, and we've lost 4 children.
Well, and everybody's come out in the last few weeks, BKP, and said,
Closing schools is an idiot
schools.
move.
Well, I said that's the first day
We've
we
been saying
started.
that all along.
I said they need to be open, and when a kid gets the virus, you send him home. You don't shut down the classroom, and you don't send everybody in there to fumigate the place. And if your football team and your quarterback's got the daggum illness, he goes home, and the guy that's supposed to take over for him plays. Now, I was proven right this last week when I think it was Denver Broncos had all their coaches out. Was it Denver? Had all of their quarterbacks out, and they had to use a wide receiver off the taxi squad, and one of their running backs played quarterback, and they didn't score a touchdown, had 1 field goal. But they put the team on the field, and they did what you do when you play sports, and you got to just fill the slot.
a local school? And I call it local.
You like it a local school?
No. It came here. I don't want to lose it. A local school, not in Fannin County. Okay, it's not here, but it's in another state. But it's close enough. It's within a 40-mile range. A local school system reported their math scores and the struggle they're having with math scores, and the decline.
Yeah, real decline.
Real decline, based on the fact of these kids.
What's the number?
These kids
20-something percent it was.
Yeah, these kids
Decline?
are not, math scores. That these kids are in rural area, don't have internet, don't have options of computers. Some people economically don't have the computers, don't have the parental structure in the house. I just go the whole list. Their math scores are a disaster.
Okay, I want to stop you there a minute because you focused on people that don't have access to the internet. I want to go back. You got the tip of the iceberg. The whole iceberg is that we stopped giving standardized tests, right? So no standardized tests have been given in this period. Georgia's are eliminated. Well, they just got through giving a standardized test in a whole state. I won't say which state, but it happens to be a state right here. That is, quote, not a standardized test, but they give it at the fall break every year to their students. They did averagely okay in English and reading comprehension and writing, and they had the same percentage decrease in math, and these are kids who have are being taught remotely. And the reason
right.
is mathematics is like dominoes falling over. Whereas English comprehension is you read a story and you learn about it and they talk about it. If you don't learn this domino, the next domino and the next domino can't fall because it's built one step on
right.
each other. But you can't, there's not any way in this video business when you're working by yourself and you don't have a teacher to correct what you did. And so math needs
correct.
mentors in the classroom that say, Johnny, you did a really good job, but, and then Johnny has to learn a concept. Well, that's not part of English comprehension, learning how to speak a language. That's all memory. He's got to learn this concept before he can learn the concept that it's built upon.
Now, not to take too much time away from that.
This has got a lot to do with cancer.
You're correct. You're 100% correct. But what it is, let's say you have internet on Monday. Okay. Now, English. You know, you could start, and what is it called, the syllabus or whatever. Teacher hands out and says, these are the 10 writing assignments we're going to work on this semester. Yeah. Okay, you're 100%. Dominoes are not there. You can read in the morning or read in the afternoon and study. So if you can get online on Monday and you're working on your English assignments, you can't get online Tuesday, then it's not the end of the world. You do it Tuesday afternoon. But in math, even if you have internet, if you can't get to where you need to, where the teacher's going to be live at that time, you can ask a question.
Right.
Then and you're 100% right.
But she's got to really be able to see what you did.
Exactly.
She's got to see how you solved the problem.
You're 100% right.
You gave her an answer that was wrong, but she's got to be able to look at your paper and figure out what step did you do wrong to get the wrong answer. And that you can't do that on the video, as best I can tell. And I can tell you that I remember very distinctly in high school dissecting a frog.
Get these kids back in school.
I dissected a frog. I did chemistry experiments where we had smoke in the room, and Johnny broke the beaker. You don't do chemistry experiments.
Don't bring up bad moments for me, Doctor.
You don't do chemistry experiments.
And your hair's white from
exactly. I mean.
You don't. No,
you can't do chemistry.
You don't dissect a frog at home.
Right.
You don't do physics experiments at home. You can't do chemistry at home. You can't do wood shop at home.
Bill, let me kind of go back to.
I want to get back to COVID, but that was good because
we're talking about COVID.
I get it.
We're talking about. I mean, we're talking about patients missing their cancer screening and what a catastrophe that is building up from that.
From our children all the way.
Okay, we're back to cancer screening now.
Okay,
right.
But my point being is that can we learn something from this? Okay, in the future there will be something that happens where some hero is going to run out and say this issue matters, nothing else does, and we have to be able to say, hold it a minute. We've determined that cancer screening is an important thing and it saves lives. We've determined that kids going to school is an important thing and it helps them grow up and be good citizens someday. We've determined that controlling blood pressure and diabetes helps people live longer. Now, you're saying that the asteroid's going to hit us next year. That could be a big thing, but I don't know if we're going to stop everything else while we're waiting for that maybe to happen. I mean, but that's what we've had happen here is that we've had these people come out and say, well, COVID's going to kill hundreds of millions of people on this planet in the next 12 months. Well, it turned out to be wrong. It turned out to be wrong about that number. But in the meantime, they're still running around saying, well, we got to shut these bars down, and these people can't do their business, and they got to go bankrupt, and these kids can't go to school, and all. I mean, you still have all these little tyrants running around acting like they're something, and they are nothing but tyrants. And we've got a society now that's being demoralized and hurt because people aren't getting screened for cancer. Their blood pressure is not being controlled right. Their hypertension, their atherosclerotic heart disease is not being controlled right. And those are 10 times for every one COVID death.
I want to go back to this.
And job security is important.
And job security.
It is. It gets stressful if you're out there every day and you've got a job.
Jobs cure a lot of ills.
All right, I want you to go back to the very first weeks of this virus. And I'm not going to blame this on Fauci or anybody else. But the predictions were we would have 1.5 to 3.5 million deaths
in America,
in the United States. As of yesterday, there have been 1.5 million deaths
in the world.
So what what was facts in February and March are different today. I am going to guarantee you that what are facts today are going to be different in February. But let's go back to the original questions, because you're coming up on the daggum expert panel here in a few minutes. First, the immunotherapy, everything else on that list in cancer, yes, that increases your risk. But you're alive today and didn't die of this disease because you had the opportunity to get that treatment. And if I have anything to say about it, you're going to be prioritized up there with the fine china. Now, the second question, and the one that got us all started on this, is when the county asks, should we require our police, fire, and first responders, they have a list saying, do you want to take the vaccine? That's just the way the question was asked, actually. I want to be honest the way this is asked. We have a list here wanting to know whether we should or should not sign up for the vaccine when it becomes available. What's your recommendation? I said, my recommendation is take the vaccine, but take it 8 weeks after the vaccine has been given to me and to other people that have to take it, so you'll know if my hair falls out or my teeth turn green. If my hair doesn't fall out, my teeth don't turn green in the first couple of months.
Or heaven forbid you start speaking Russian.
Yeah, speaking Russian. Take the daggum vaccine. That was the question from the county. So sign up to take the vaccine. The question from the employer was, can we require that our employees take the vaccine? And that was the question we got into a few minutes ago. And then the question that came from the organization of home health agencies and hospices is, yes, I believe that you will be able to require that your nurses and healthcare workers who go into the home and are doing face-to-face treatment to protect your client should be required to take the vaccine. Now, that may be too much, but that was, so I gave three different answers.
I'm going to miss the next 2 weeks, miss you guys. I'm going to a place where I have to wear an ankle bracelet.
Oh, are they going to let you in?
Yeah, they're going to let me in, but I have to wear an ankle bracelet, waterproof ankle bracelet for 10 days.
Are you serious?
Serious. Part of the deal.
But you chose to do that.
I chose to do it. I get tested before I get on the plane. I get tested when I get off, and I get tested 4 days later, and I got to wear an ankle bracelet for 10 days.
Now, the ankle bracelet is for what? To know where you're at?
I think it's my wife tracking me.
It's GPS.
Ooh,
It's a GPS. You go into your boat. He's gonna do missionary work in the islands.
Yes.
All right.
That's
so
right.
You won't be here for the next 2 weeks.
Right.
Okay. All right. Well, we hope you enjoy yourself. You've made the choice to go do that. Anything else, sir?
No, I'm good.
All right. How about you?
Wear your mask all the time that you are not with the group that you are comfortable with their condition. Wear your mask. Don't wear your mask if you're playing golf or outside, nobody's around you. Get out of your house. Go into the doctor, the primary care doctor whose office is open and seeing patients and not trying to do it over the telephone. And get your mammogram and your colonoscopy and your blood sugar checked. And if you're a healthy person, please donate blood.
Okay.
And take your flu shot.
Question.
We have shown that the flu shot this year, seasonal flu shot, does not stop you from getting COVID. But if you get the COVID, it diminishes the percentage that will be hospitalized. And if hospitalized diminishes the percentages that'll go to ICU, it's not a big number, but anything that diminishes, you should take.
Okay. Question for both of you.
Yeah.
There's been high profile, we'll use that. High profile people asked if they would take the vaccine. So here on a local level, you are my high profile people. When it comes out as available, will you take the vaccine?
Yes.
Yes.
The vaccine?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. When do you think it'd be available in this area, and how will it be?
For Bill and I, probably in the next couple of weeks.
Next couple of weeks.
I'm going to say January the 15th, but
Now,
they say it's going to be the last week in
Now,
December.
I'm just going to ask, when you say for Bill and I,
Healthcare workers.
Healthcare
And those
You
healthcare
hit two
workers that are
categories.
right. We're old and we're healthcare workers, and we face COVID.
That was
Yeah, I saw
No,
I
understand
saw
what
an
you're
active patient with COVID Tuesday.
saying. But you will take
I'll take it the day it's available.
takes vaccine, and you say it's the next couple weeks, and it will be categorized.
Well, the next question is it going to be the frozen one at 70 below zero, or is it going to be the one that can be shipped at 14
Dry ice.
degrees?
I saw that the other day.
We're not going to get into that. I'll take either one.
Folks, it's going to be time for our next segment, but let me close up with saying thank you to both the doctors, and especially to Northside or North Georgia Cancer Research, affiliated with Northside Hospital, for the segment every week.
Georgia Cancer Specialist and Northside Hospital and everybody else that's involved here.
Got it.
Well, thank them all. And if you want to research, call me office.
Thank you. Right, but don't forget, these segments you could share with your family and friends. You could go to FYNTV.com. Look at Ask the Doc. All of our segments are there throughout the week. You can share. Also find our YouTube channel, FYNTV Fetch Your News. Look at the playlist, Ask the Doc. You can always share these with your family and friend. We'll be back right after these messages from Circuit World in Blue Ridge with the All-Star Political Panel.